All right, guys. So I was looking through his content, right? Because I wanted to find some of his music. So I went to another channel and I come across this video and I started watching it for a few minutes. So I was like, you know what? I got to do a short video and just go through like the beginning part of this because this got really interesting. Okay. Now, look, I've done a lot of extended videos going over Black Lives Matter, the movement, the protest, all of it. And it looks like here we go again. We got to continue having a discussion. Okay.
A video essay, so I figured why not just do a video essay where I break down a bunch of nasty things that Amazing Lucas did and give you guys a history. Huh? I ain't seen no other videos that really did a full version of this. So I was like, why not, man? So I need you to do me a favor. Hit that like button, subscribe, watch more videos after this, man. Drop some comments during the video. You can drop as many comments as you want, fam. We're gonna have a real discussion because Lucas is out here nasty as hell, fam. I first heard of Lucas when I was just watching him doing commentary videos, man. He was more conservative than anything. This is when he was doing the character liberal Lucas and before he became liberal Lucas. I thought he was funny. I thought he was funny and then he wasn't. For some weird reason, he just switched sides, fam. Some people, they have theories it's because he read a book and wild out. Some people say it was involving the police, which leads to the first thing. His defense of BLM is crazy, man. He has like such a huge defense of BLM and such a huge disdain for police. It's almost as if he's a socialist and not a Republican like he claims to be, fam. Fraud out the gate. Straight fraud.
Now, 99% of the people that were at that protest did not storm that Capitol.
So look, I know I'm probably going to have quite a few disagreements with Beast Boy. I know I'm going to. Okay, I come from a different background than what he's coming from, at least from what I'm getting. I've not watched a whole lot of his content. I'm guessing he's a conservative, okay, which is totally fine. When it comes to breaking down like the whole flawed and upchurch debacle, that kind of thing, like he did an amazing job on those. Like everything he said was logical, it made sense. So I don't know. Maybe when he comes back on, he's going to be able to fully explain why, he has whatever opinion he has. Okay.
They have strong feelings about the election. They support the president, and they were not a part of it. But there is this element, very small, but enough people to create a tremendous amount of damage and put a lot of people in danger. And we should be rejecting that group, not after the fact, but before.
Does my ears deceive me? You mean when I was saying, hey, there was bad actors in the BLM protest, right? There was people who were agitators. There was people who were starting those fires who were doing that. That wasn't the majority of those people in the protest, right? Studies have come out that the majority of them were peaceful.
Here's your proof. The Black Lives Matter
So he's absolutely right about that. He just is. If you only watch Fox News or OAN or whatever other right-wing broadcast system, okay, you're going to probably have a different opinion than what he just said. That's just the way it goes. They're not going to tell you the whole story. Every single time they bring up BLM, they're showing the riots, they're showing stuff on fire, they're showing just nothing but bad news. Okay? When it comes to January 6th, it was like the total opposite. And I did a video and I showed one time when they were talking about police brutality, but that was for like another country, I think it was. So it's like, oh, so that just has nothing to do with here. So apparently, when it comes to BLM, the cops are always right. The protesters are always wrong. When it comes to January 6th, protesters were absolutely right. You know, they wasn't doing anything wrong at all for the most part. You know, going by the video that Tucker Carlson put out, which was absolutely ridiculous.
Founders and leaders in their own words. First up, Black Lives Matter co-founder Patrisse Cullors admits that she and fellow co-founder Alicia Garza are trained Marxists. Watch.
I think is that we actually do have an ideological frame. Myself and Alicia in particular are trained organizers. We are trained Marxists.
Now, here's what I'm going to say. This right here is conflating two different things. We got the organization and we got the movement. Those are two separate things. If there was a protest where people came up and they said, we want to protest for Black Lives Matter. If they said, here's a form you need to read and you need to agree to the terms, you know, then I would say, okay, fine. You know, they're part of the organization. But for the most part, they weren't having to do that. They just came there to protest, and that's what they did. They weren't going and reading no website. Okay, we're talking about just regular protesters, just going and protesting for Black Lives Matter.
Then you can check the Black Lives Matter website itself, which calls for, quote, a national defunding of police. The Black Lives Matter website also promises to, quote, disrupt the Western prescribed nuclear family structure, end quote. The Black Lives Matter group, the organization, also promotes anti-white discrimination. The Black Lives Matter chapter in Los Angeles called for a...
That may be, but if you actually go and watch the protests, there were people from all different races and backgrounds all coming together for one purpose. That's unity, not division. That's something I take a lot of issue with on Tom McDonald when it comes to BLM. Okay. You know, he says Black Lives Matter, White Lives Matter. What's all this division for? It's because it's not division. Okay. You know, and then I guess we got to address the All Lives Matter critique, right? We got to address it. So here's the thing. Whenever those two sides come together and whenever they hear Black Lives Matter, their first response is, well, all lives matter. Okay, sure, that is true. But Black lives aren't included in that, right? So what are you arguing about? Why can't, you go on with your thing and say all lives matter, but then leave the Black Lives Matter alone? You're both right. It's not like one side is saying these lives don't matter. It's not like anyone is saying that.
So-called Black Christmas, which means a boycott of white-owned stores in favor of black-owned stores. Leaders of the Black Lives Matter movement also condemned...
If they want to do that, it's their choice. People can boycott whatever they want. That's called freedom, okay? And if they want to encourage that, let them encourage that. The people have the right to pick and choose whatever ideology they want to follow.
Capitalism. Anthony Radcliffe, a Black Lives Matter leader, but not a founder, says, and I quote, until we start to see capitalism just as nefarious as white supremacy, we will always be struggling. The co-founder of the Black Lives Matter movement, Alicia Garza, likewise demonized capitalism at the 2016 ANET conference. Take a look.
We need to build a different kind of movement, not just by opposing what is wrong, what is fascist, what is xenophobic, what is racist, what is capitalist, imperialist about our president-elect. It's not just about opposing those things. And it's not just about...
Well, right off the bat, I gotta tell you something. To just call out capitalism like it's a horrible, evil thing, it's not. It's really not. When you go to the grocery store and you're able to buy pretty much anything you want, you could thank capitalism for that. Where you could go get in your car and drive and get a hamburger, get a taco salad, get all these other things. You can thank capitalism for that. It's because of capitalism that these businesses are able to run and stay in business, keep going. They're providing a service, and we need that service. Just think about being able to go to a gas station and fill your car up with gas. That's capitalism. If gas stations weren't allowed to make enough profit to keep buying more gas, well, guess what? They're going to run out. There won't be no more gas. So capitalism is a great thing, and it's absolutely needed. But with capitalism, there needs to be a balance. And that balance, goes towards socialism, right? So if you were to go all socialism or all capitalism, it's bad news. Society's not going to work very good that way. It's just not. That's why you need a well-balanced government, okay? And that's what we have. It's not perfect, but it's pretty well balanced.
Him. But it is also very much about organizing and building power.
The Black Lives Matter group is also anti-free speech. Back in 2017, Black Lives Matter co-founder Patrisse Cullors admitted this to MSNBC's Katie Tur. Take a listen.
Hate speech, which is what we're seeing coming out of white nationalist groups, is not protected under the First Amendment rights.
In fact, constitutionally, hate speech is protected under the First.
Well, what we have to understand there is, so in that case, I don't really think we can criticize her for that statement, because she could just be mistaken. Not everyone is going to be correct in every single opinion they have. Okay. And hate speech absolutely is protected. It is protected speech. Hate crimes is what is not protected. Okay. So I can't necessarily say that her opinion is wrong, but her statement was wrong. And I think it's okay to say that hate speech shouldn't be used. All right. I mean, that's just common sense. We shouldn't go around using, racial slurs, that kind of thing. We just shouldn't do it. It's just not smart.
Amendment per the Supreme Court. And lest anybody doubt the true political motives behind this group, aside from their anti-police, anti-family, anti-white, anti-capitalist, anti-free speech, neo-Marxist ideology, Black Lives Matter co-founder Patrisse Cullors admitted to CNN's Jake Tapper that the goal of the Black Lives Matter movement, the group, the organization, is to get President Trump out of office. Take a look.
But our goal is to get Trump out.
Finally, Hawk Newsom, president of Greater New York Black Lives Matter, says if the Black Lives Matter group doesn't get their way, they will burn it down. Take a look.
If this country doesn't give us what we want, then we will burn down this system and replace it.
Now, this and a combination of a bunch of other stuff led to him losing a bunch of subscribers, and all his fans, let me not say all, a lot of his fans realizing this guy is woke. Oh, he real woke. I'm not messing with it. I'm outie.
YouTuber The Amazing Lucas seems to be going crazy as he loses about a quarter of his subscribers by the thousands almost every week, it seems.
So right here, here's a graph. This is the total subscribers from the last year. He was peaking 493,000 May 25th. That's 7,000 subscribers away from.
Now, of course, I don't know, any other backstory that's going on with this guy he's talking about right now, the Amazing Lucas. All right, I have no idea. Here's what I'm going to say. You can have different things with the same name, but still be totally independent of each other. Okay? Two different families can celebrate Christmas, but celebrate two different things. You know, one family may not even do the Christmas tree, the presents, may not do any of that stuff. They might be so religious that they say, no, this is the day that we celebrate the birth of Jesus Christ. That's what we're going to do today. You know, and then another family might not acknowledge that it has, you know, religious undertones, that it is about Jesus Christ or anything like that. And yet, both families are doing what? They're celebrating Christmas. And they both would say that. What are you doing today? Oh, we're celebrating Christmas. Even though they have totally, you know, two different definitions of what Christmas is. It really depends on, you know, the person that is participating in whatever activity it is. Just because it has the same name doesn't mean the context and the backstory and everything else is exactly the same. Doesn't mean that. So that's why I said they're conflating the issues. Now imagine if you go to that other religious family and you said, oh, you're celebrating Christmas? Don't you know Christmas is supposed to be about celebrating the birth of Jesus Christ and not about, you know, giving presents to each other? And they say, well, we're not giving presents to each other. We're celebrating Christmas the right way. Yeah, but everyone else, when they celebrate Christmas, that's what they're doing. So aren't you doing the same thing? No. Whoever said that? They could do what they want to do. We're going to do what we want to do. You know, those two things don't have anything to do with each other. To give it full context, if you were going to protest for Black Lives Matter because of the organization, okay, then I would say you fall into that category of what they're talking about here. You know, you have been indoctrinized with a lot of hateful rhetoric. I'm sorry, that's just the truth. That's a lot of hateful rhetoric. If you were going to protest, you know, because you agree with the concept that Black Lives Matter, then you're not in the same camp as the other people. You're also not in the same camp as the people who wanted to go and loot, destroy, and do all this other stuff. You're not in the same camp as those people either. There was a lot of different camps, okay? That was, one group was doing this, one group was doing that. You know, I actually watched live coverage of the protests. And, you know, and I was also watching, you know, Fox News. I was watching other broadcast channels covering it. And we need to address the word sensationalism. Okay, that's what we need to talk about. Now, it's not that interesting to, you know, show hours and hours of footage of just people, you know, saying hands up, don't shoot, of showing their Black Lives Matter signs. It's not that interesting. At least not for hours and hours and hours. It's not what they want to show. What do they want to show? If you're a broadcast channel, what's going to get more clicks and views? Peaceful protests, you know, that kind of thing. Is that going to get clicks and views? Not really. You want to talk about, this is what Black Lives Matter really wants. That's going to get the views, because that's what a lot of people came there to see if they're watching Fox News. You know, we want to see Black Lives Matter be depicted as a horrible, evil organization that no one should ever protest for. And I don't think it's right. I really don't. You know, like I said, I watched a lot of the protests, and a lot of news channels was being very disingenuous about what they chose to show. They really were. And even the protests that turned violent, a lot of them turned violent after the protesters were attacked. after they got, tear gas shot at them, after they got rubber bullets shot at them. Okay, that's when they started turning violent. Now, I'm not saying that in every single situation, okay, because really depends on the protest that was actually happening.
500,000. That's pretty good. But right here, this is one of the several videos that screwed him. This video is how to stop the protest, riots, and looting. Okay, right here he's saying no justice, no peace. If we want peace, we're gonna have to prosecute the cops. Blah blah blah. That's what he's saying. And at first, everyone was on board with that. But I'll get to that a little bit later. So right here, you can see that he's doing really good with his channel. He's gaining thousands upon thousands, right? Until he drops tremendously. And you guys will see that right about now. 16,000 loss, 5,000 loss, gains 4,000, but that's irrelevant compared to what's coming. He loses 1,000, 3,000, 11,000, 12,000, 16,000, 4,000.
Within the last year and a half has lost more subscribers than what he had at the beginning. This dude was trending. He used to average 150,000, 200,000 views per video, and he only had a little over 400K subscribers on there before. He was balling.
I'm out here. He was just, I'm so enraged. He was mad, and he decided to double down like most locals do once they notice that they're losing subscribers, fam. Let's just go crazy. Let's do a whole bunch of nastiness. For some weird reason, and I'm just gonna go with envy, he decided to make Officer Tatum like his prime target. He was like, that's who I'm going at. I'm gonna.
So look, I can tell now. Me and Beast Boy, we're on complete opposite, ends of the spectrum here. Okay, I do not like Officer Tatum. Now, I like Beast Boy, and I'm hoping, we might be able to still have some common sense discussions, okay? Because I don't know anything about the people he's talking about here. Maybe their opinions were just complete nonsense. I have no idea. And maybe he's going to think my opinions are just complete nonsense. I don't think they are, but I'm willing to at least, hear the man out. So that's what I say, I'll put out the videos, let you take a look at them if you want. You just write back and tell me whatever you think, and we'll go from there. We could have a civil conversation, hopefully.
I'm losing more subs. I'm still going to keep going for Officer Tatum. Now, from what I will say, I'm not going to be like super pro Officer Tatum, and I'm not against Officer Tatum. I'm kind of in the middle. I'm indifferent. I don't have a strong stance on him. Sometimes he says some.
I was thinking at first he was going to be like, no, Officer Tatum is like, the man. I thought he was going to be on that out. I was like, I thought at first he was going to be on that side of the fence. And I was like, he may not like my content very much if that's the case. Now, but with this, okay, I'm thinking he's a little bit more level-headed than a lot of people would be.
I'm like, okay, that was intense. Sometimes I'm like, that was on point. But Lucas just took his criticism a little too far.
In his frustration and confusion as to why are all these people leaving me, he seems to be taking it out on more successful YouTubers. More specifically, he seems to have declared war on Officer Brandon Tatum.
I don't think his losses are mostly coming from him going down the crazy lane on certain times.
Well, I know this is a long video, and I'm guessing we'll probably get there at some point. I'm not going to watch the whole video, at least not right now. I'm not on camera. Okay. What I'm not seeing is videos from the Amazing Lucas. This right here, I believe, is someone doing a criticism of the Amazing Lucas's channel. Or is this the Amazing Lucas? I'm not totally sure. Okay.
Topics and or just missing the mark in certain areas and or certain levels of conversation. It has more to do, I think, with his personal attack on Brandon Tatum as to why he's losing his subscribers. They see it as petty. It's just hating on someone else's success, coming after his kids and his wife, and specifically calling him out on the race of said individuals as if it's relevant in any other way other than to try to point out that he's another black man who married a white woman.
I can look at a man and say the N-word and I say,
You doing trigger warnings, bro? That let me know what type of video this about to be. That give me a real idea where he about to go with this.
Say, okay, I see what he doing with that.
I'm sure you can.
He thought he can't.
Okay, so we are finally going to see something from the Amazing Lucas, which we've not really gotten any like full context into like why his takes are so bad, except for what we just heard. Like he's making fun of his family and this and that. Like I would never do that. You know, if I'm going to do commentary on, you know, Officer Tatum, about, you know, any other commentator, I'm going to attack their arguments, not the person. And that's the way you're supposed to do it. It's just like with me. If someone has a problem with some of the opinions I have, well, fine, attack the opinions, you know. But that doesn't mean you need to start throwing out a whole bunch of insults and saying, oh, you're just a this, you're just a that, you must have just been born yesterday, right? Like, there's no need for any of that. That's the only thing that's going to do is help to get the conversation shut down a lot faster than it needs to be.
He thought that was like the hottest bar of 2022 just now when he said that. I'm sure you can. You heard it? You heard what I said? Wait, I'll do it again. I'm sure you can.
Called tap dancing because it's what white ignorants love to see. They love seeing black faces regurgitate white ignorant talking point, right? They love to downplay any type of racism, even if it's blatant, right? They love downplaying it. And they love, more importantly, what they love more.
This man is just, fam, he begging for people to approve of what the hell he's saying, fam. Man, shut up. Shut up, fam. Ain't nobody looking for no approval. I think that's you that's doing that. You're begging for approval in this. This is the moment when he. No, that's you, fam. I don't know what it is. A lot of people, and this is like a trend on YouTube, that seemed like they were somewhat towards right. Like they was wearing a mask and pretending to be somebody that they wasn't. Eventually, they try to go bread tube and just switch over hard. And Amazing Lucas is showing that in this moment, fam. I mean, so many of his fans are running away. Some of them became content creators, fam, and started actually doing videos, which, you can take that with a grain of salt, fam. Some people, they just don't rock with a certain creator anymore. And they just be like, hey, I'm going to just go at them for my videos, right? And sometimes it genuinely is just them being disappointed and just not with it.
It honestly is with a heavy heart that I make this video, because let me tell y'all guys, I loved the Amazing Lucas, and in general, I still do, but he was my favorite YouTuber of all time.
I have been unsubscribed actually for a little over a year. And I think if he ever came across this video, which I doubt, because why the hell would he? But if he did, his thought would be something like, well, they just don't agree. they don't agree with what I'm saying, so they're just moving on. And it's like, well,
I can tell you this. I strongly believe that's why I don't have very many subscribers. It's because a lot of people, they don't agree with the opinions I have. Okay? That's totally fine. Everyone has the right to say, I don't rock with this guy. I don't like what he has to say. That's totally fine. The only thing I would say is I would hope more people would at least give me a chance and have a conversation with me instead of just saying, you said something I don't like, so I'm going to take off. I mean, if that's what you want to do, then that's fine. I'm not going to argue with you about it. But if you want to have a conversation, then I'm more willing to have a conversation with anybody.
Well, for me, it wasn't really about disagreement. It was more about the hostility. When I first subscribed to his channel, he was always telling everyone to be amazing. And he was always coming from a grounded perspective that seemed very even keel, like across the board. Like he gave everyone an opportunity to hear, their side. Now he tries to do that, but he's so hostile towards his base, his fan base, or whatever, that it's
one of the main factors that made me go, okay, Luke has probably lost his mind, is his huge disdain for white people. I don't think he likes them very much, man. For someone who complains about racism, he throws it out. He throws it out like a whole lot, fam. It makes you side eye him, like, why are you saying that?
There has been a white lash, okay, of white ignorance, predominantly white men who are just outraged at the trailer.
Right out the gate, he just starts attacking white people. It's clear as day. It's clear as day. It's not even an assumption at this point. But Lucas, I'm like proof that you're an idiot. I'm black, and I'm not really a fan of it. I'm a fan of the actress, and I'm also a fan of her singing. I've been a fan of her since she was on YouTube with her sister. I don't like the fact that Hollywood is using black people to try to get more views. They know what they're doing. They're well aware. Just make your own characters, man.
Sociological concept of the colorization of crime, of actually, as far as the racism, determining, hey, that black, this is bad, this is negative, and it was actually promoted and manifested within entertainment, within the media, right? We even see this with, Birth of a Nation, of this stigmatizing. You go on, go further on. You have, as far as, the trope of black people dying first.
Yeah, it's black people who die first, like the black character in The Shining, right? He didn't make it to the end at all. Nah, no way. He didn't make it to the end. What about like if white people didn't allow black people to be in movies, right? And they still made horror movies, then that mean that a white person would have died first, right? Just by default. What about Psycho? Remember Psycho? Remember, what was that? Jamie Lee Curtis moms screaming and getting the ying treatment. The real horror fans gonna know what I was just doing. I'm not trying to say it out loud on YouTube. But fam, that doesn't make any sense. And that's not even the worst. Lucas, he goes even lower, fam. He's caused certain channels to get terminated because people gave him criticism. It was fair use, but because it was a smaller channel and he felt like nobody would hear them complain or speak up about it, right? Wrong. I heard them, Lucas. I heard them. And I wanted to share their story. So let's get straight into that. Getting channels terminated with your nasty self.
All right, guys. So I went ahead and pulled up a video from the amazing Lucas. I never heard of this guy before. I never watched any of his videos before. And right off the bat, there's a problem with the title. It's Candace Owens. Okay. So that's a problem right there. Okay. Let's see if I'm going to agree with anything in this video. Maybe I won't. I have no idea.
White conservatives pay her to say the propaganda, which is nothing more than, black people bad, white people good. That's it. That's that.
she does spew out 1350 a lot. Okay, so I can't say I, totally disagree with him. All right, but we're gonna need to see some context here.
Candace Owens.
So he's saying Candace Owens. I've heard the term quite a few times. I don't know exactly what it means, so I'm gonna go ahead and look it up real quick. So I did some digging and I ended up going to Quora. And the question is, what does being called a coon mean to a black person? So coon means a black person who puts white people on a pedestal. This means informing on a black person to white people or being excessively nice to white people, but very nasty to other black people. So let's see if he's going to put anything in the video to back up, him calling her that.
They're talking about, hey, police brutality is not even a real thing.
I'm not so sure about that one now. She does acknowledge that police brutality exists. She has said before she hopes George Floyd gets the justice he deserves. She has said that. I have quite a few issues with a lot of her talking points. Okay. But at the end of the day, I do believe that she understands that what those cops did to George Floyd was not justified.
The only thing I really agree with these saltines is when it comes to, hey, gay marriage and LGBT and all that stuff. Okay, to keep that out of my community.
So he wants to use a racial slur, but not have it be picked up, within YouTube. Okay. Hey, I just think that's funny. That is just funny right there.
Anytime she talked about black people being bad, we got to do better, black people bad, police brutality doesn't exist. Oh, that was applauded, right? But now all of a sudden, when she criticizes Israel, now she's no longer a free thinker.
Look, I try and be fair about everything. That is my main goal, is I try to be fair. I don't care about identity politics. I don't care about, you're conservative, you're liberal, you're, there's this thing about you, there's that thing about you. So that means that's going to dictate to me, right, what my overall opinion is going to be. No, it's not. It's just simply not. I don't rock with Candace Owens personally. There's a lot of things Candace Owens says that I just don't agree with. Okay, but I also believe in being fair. I believe that if you're going to make a statement, then you should really give the context and show this is what was said, this is what was not said. Okay, we shouldn't be watching a video and you just expecting us to take your word for it. So you've said a couple times now, Candace Owens doesn't believe police brutality is a real thing. I know for a fact that's not true.
Two things can be true at once. You can both say that George Floyd didn't deserve to die, no matter how you believe he died. Nobody deserves to die, in my opinion. And you can also say that objectively, this person that did die was not a saint. This person was not an angel.
The second thing that I want to say is that the footage is positively horrific. It is horrific to watch. In the beginning, I kind of went into it and I said, oh, it's not that bad. It's not that bad. And then it goes on. And for me, it was this particular portion where you see that they had Tyre Nichols on the ground. You see that he has his hands up in the defense position and he's fully outnumbered. And they continue to hit him. They're pepper spraying him. And then there's this moment where one of the police officers starts pulling him up. And that's the moment where the police officers, to me, are just so guilty, right? You have every opportunity to apprehend the suspect when he is fully on the ground with his hands up, right? But they pull him back up to his feet and they start punching him in the face. What could possibly justify that? Doesn't make sense, right? It's not like you're fighting him and you just can't get him onto the ground. He's on the ground. Why pull him back up?
Basically, this is not the best moment of their day. And I just think that it can't be like, hey, abide by me, or the immediate next step is chokehold. There does have to be some value in de-escalation training, or we cannot stand on someone's head. I'm sure you agree with the George Floyd. You know that. Like, what they did to George Floyd was murder.
No,
it was crazy.
I mean, I agree with that. And I've said that over and over again, that it didn't have to end in that situation, even though I do feel it's important to point out that George Floyd, by his, according to his death record, he did not die from a chokehold. He died from a fentanyl overdose.
Okay, but I'm sure the chokehold didn't help.
I'm sure it didn't help, but he was not restrained in a way that stopped his breathing.
No,
okay. A media misrepresentation that should be clarified.
Right.
But regardless, I don't think a police officer should be on anybody's neck for 9 minutes.
Getting oxygen throughout our bodies is a surprisingly difficult task. Gas enters cells by diffusing in from their surroundings, and that only happens efficiently over tiny distances. So, for oxygen to reach the cells within our bodies, it needs a transportation network. This is where our 20 trillion red blood cells come in. Each one contains about 270 million oxygen-binding molecules of hemoglobin, which is what gives blood its scarlet hue.
This is George Floyd, a 46-year-old black male who was restrained with a knee to his neck for 9 minutes. Here's how he passed away. He was held in the prone position, so he was face down, lying flat. To breathe normally, you need to increase the size of your chest. You do this by raising your ribs and contracting your diaphragm. When you're face down, the weight of your body makes raising your ribs to expand your lungs difficult. It's even harder when someone's kneeling on you. Breathing quickly becomes abnormal. The person has air hunger, gasping and struggling to breathe. This is known as compressive asphyxia. The weight of the knee on the neck can fracture the hyoid bone or the cervical spine. Your airway is like a straight straw. Any bends in the straw can cause a blockage of the airways. Kneeling on the neck can compress the carotid artery supplying the brain, resulting in less oxygen going to the brain. This can cause death of brain tissue, resulting in a stroke or cardiac arrest.
George W. Williams is a doctor of critical care anesthesiology at UT Health Houston. He says that compression asphyxia, or what the National Library of Medicine says is air being cut off from the body due to external pressure, lines up with the many stories from people who felt like they couldn't move or breathe in a packed crowd.
When we have compression asphyxiation, you're looking at so much force, hundreds of pounds of force outside the chest, to where there's force out the chest emptying out the chest.
Only one person suffered other contributory causes to his death, Mirza Danish Bag, who had drugs in his system.
Whenever someone has a substance in their body that's altering their level of consciousness, how interactive they are, what their judgment is, then it impairs the ability of the body to respond to protect that person.
Reaction to the news pouring in. Concert experts say the deaths were due to a crowd surge.
When there's barely standing room, when you're shoulder to shoulder with people, both in the front and in the back, that all it takes is one person tripping on a rock or pushing forward to where you get a domino effect. And one person pushes another, then the next, and all that collective weight can end up on just a few people.
On Wednesday, crews began dismantling the Astroworld stage for the first time. This memorial still stands here at NRG. Those 10 victims ranging in ages from 9 to 27.
And I don't rock with Candace Owens. I don't really like her. But at the same time, that's just simply not true.
Take your racist self somewhere else. You go, bro. Go.
Beast Boy got a point. He is being racist to himself, talking about the saltine people. Come on now, we know what he's talking about. All right. Maybe you're going to say I shouldn't think it's funny because it is racist. And I know if it was, a white person using the same type of rhetoric against black people, I would be highly offended at that. It just doesn't bother me that much when it's someone, being that way towards white people. It just don't. And like I said, you could make the argument that it should. And I totally get that argument. I really do.
I want you to understand, Candace Owens is a very spiteful woman. okay? Just like every white liberal woman, because at the heart, that's what she is. She's a white liberal woman.
Notice the key word there he said, every white liberal woman. Okay? That's the part that I'm taking issue with right now. That's the part I take issue with a lot of commentators on both sides, on the left and the right. Whenever you are, taking an entire group of people and putting them all in a box and saying you are all guilty of this thing, and I'm labeling you all the same way, I can't rock with that. I just can't. Not every conservative is going to have the same mentality. Not every liberal is going to have the same mentality. You can't tell me every single liberal is going to have blue hair. You just can't. You could say maybe that's an indication someone might be a liberal, but do you really think every single person with blue hair is a liberal? I don't think so.
Bro, she's attacked Steven Crowder.
What's the problem with her attacking Steven Crowder? Did you watch the video when she attacked Steven Crowder? Did you? I didn't need to watch it. I already knew the kind of stuff she was going to go in about. I also know Candace Owens apparently made a video about Pearl, because the title of the video was like, this is a red pill you don't need to take. And there's going to be, at least from what I'm thinking about now, at least quite a few videos that I could watch and I'd be like, I'm totally on board with this. Okay? I saw a video of Steven Crowder when he was talking to his pregnant wife. Are you really going to be upset because someone made a video and complaining about his type of mentality, that type of abusive, no, come on.
That her white overlords have told her to. Candace, go after him. Okay. Candace, go after him. Now
you don't know that. You don't know, how much of the content she puts out is her idea or if it's, the producers telling her what to do. You don't know that. And the same thing I'm going to say to Beast Boy over here, when he talked about the Little Mermaid, what I'm going to say, same thing I've said quite a few times, you don't know the exact reasons of what went into creating that character and having her play that role. You don't know that. That is your interpretation. That's what you think happened. But until there's a documentary that comes out that was, behind the scenes, that showed a hot mic from the producers or from someone else saying, we have to get a black person to play the role so we can get diversity clout, so we can, do this, we can do that. Until that comes out, then everyone's just guessing at it and everyone's making it seem like they know exactly what happened. We don't know exactly what happened. And for me, I don't have a problem with it personally. The first thing I'm going to say is it's a fictional character, for one. And you're wanting a reboot to be exactly like the original. And it's like, that's not what reboots are supposed to do. It's supposed to be a reimagination of the story. It's like the Walking Dead, the comic book versus the TV show. They use the source material as a blueprint, and then they're going to change a lot of things and throw us off. So we're expecting this to happen, but oh, wait a minute, that's not going to happen. Something else is going to happen. So it was a matter of, what part of the comic book are we going to put in the show versus not put in the show? Or maybe we'll use the same story but have it happen to a different character. Okay, that's a lot of things that happens. So it's kind of like a reboot, a rehashing of the same story, but with a lot of differences.
Now, she is a slave without a master, and she is a slave without a master with a slave mindset. She's lost.
Again, there's not enough evidence to call her a slave. Like I said, if there was a hot mic and she said, there's these contracts and all this other stuff, and they're just dictating to me, and I have to do all these things, and I have to be a sellout and all this other stuff because of, NDAs and whatever else, then okay, you might have a point. But there's not any of that stuff to back up what you're saying. There's just not. That's your interpretation, that's your opinion, but that's all it is. So here's what I'm going to say so far. He should really try and back up his opinions, okay? And actually show video proof that gives at least some credibility to where his opinions come from. As of right now, these opinions are not based in fact and logic. I think this is someone who knows very little about what they're talking about and has just watched a lot of left-wing media and has just consumed a lot of that stuff and then is just spewing it back out. Okay? And that's the same problem with a lot of right-wing commentators. That's the same problem, and I would pick on them just as much. I would say, if you're going to make a statement like that, then you need to give us, some context. Show us a reference to an article. Show us a video that, you watched and that's where you got this opinion from. You're just going to rattle off a whole bunch of opinions, right? And not give any context to it. It's like, what are we watching it for? You're not really establishing anything. I was hoping there's going to be more clips in here where he was actually going to expand, and show us more like video proof of what he's talking about. But he's not. This is, I don't know, at least now I have a better understanding of why so many people's left and not watching this guy anymore. So, I'm sure by now you guys have noticed, whenever I make a statement and I say, wait a minute, that's not true, if at all possible, I'm going to try and include some kind of information that's going to let you guys know what it is I watched, what it is I read, something. And then that way, you guys can take a look at the source material. You could come back and then say, hey, wait a minute. The source material you got, that was a article written by, whoever it was, and they're not a credible source. Okay, that's fine. We can keep looking for other sources then and see if there's another credible source that maybe debunks the article that I put up. That's why it's good to include your sources. And that's something apparently this guy's not very good at doing. And I just thought about something. So I just watched almost this entire video. I skipped through a small portion of it. Okay. I don't know if I want to show any of this because I think this might be the type of person that'll try to strike my video if I play any of his content in here. Okay. So I think to be on the safe side, I'm just going to let you guys see my commentary and the feedback I was giving him. And I'll have a link to this original video so you guys can go watch it for yourself and see exactly, the type of commentary I was critiquing. Okay. This video was not very good. So, alright, that's it for now, y'all.